Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of the Generation Jaguar podcast. I'm here with Scott Klein, my co-host for the last three episodes, and our brand new co-host, Grant Gunderson, who's also the VP of Generation Jaguar. And we brought you in with the great words and lyrics of Bob Dylan, who so eloquently put it, times they are a-changin', and times are changing in Jacksonville. We have a new offensive coordinator, and we have a new co-host to our show here with Grant Gunderson. Before we get into Grant, we're going to do a quick rundown of the show coming up. We got a recap of the Titans, which we always do to start off the show. We'll get into our What the F moments of the week. We'll look at the civil war that's going on within the Jaguars organization, with players not respecting fans, fans not respecting players, and now the ownership has gotten into it as well. We'll look at the firing of Greg Olson and the promotion of Nathaniel Hackett to offensive coordinator. We'll get into Blake Bortles bringing in a quarterback guru 8 weeks into the season. We'll take you around the AFC South, look at the Jaguars' competition, and finally we'll finish with our Chiefs preview. So without further ado, we've got Grant Gunderson, who is the VP of Generation Jaguar, and you can find him on Instagram at boldcityg_. So Grant, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Trying to remain optimistic about the upcoming week, and hopefully we can pull out the win. I through thick and thin, win, lose, draw. I'm always here to support the team, but it's not the easiest thing to do, but it's definitely something fun.
You're sugarcoating it. Come on.
Get
fiery. Get angry.
Easy, man. Yes, I'm angry. I'm pissed.
There we go.
We all spend our hard-earned money week after week, packing the stadium, filling the stands, tailgating, doing our thing, Duval, lock down the bank. But seriously, it's not fun cheering on a losing team, a team that's the laughing stock of the NFL. But good times, good memories.
Yeah, I think I'm just a little jaded, just coming on the podcast and going, oh shucks.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get him next week.
Yeah, 4 weeks into this podcast now, and our enthusiasm is really, really starting to wane.
Well, you know what? A win this Sunday will change all that.
That's right, it sure will.
Going in the right direction for sure.
Yeah.
So what do you have going on, Grant?
I'm the vice president, Generation Jaguar. Stoked to be a part of the growth and everything going on. It's been really tremendous about our increase in just participation and fans, and despite a team that isn't doing so well, it's amazing to see all the things that we've got going on. I'm currently in the process of talking with about a dozen potential new sponsors and getting some new events and things going like that, and also in the process of planning the first annual Generation Jaguar Ugly Sweater Christmas Party. It'll be late to mid-December out in Jacksonville Beach at Green Room. It's going to be a good time, and tickets will be sold in advance as well as at the door, so look for some more details to come on that.
Yeah, we are really excited about that, and I'm just personally really excited about having Grant helping out so much with the outreach to other organizations and planning some of these events, and we've got a lot of fun stuff coming up. We're really excited for this ugly Christmas sweater party, and a lot of the reason we're doing this whole party is to raise some cash for a local foundation, and to also have a drive to where we either get maybe canned food or toys for a bunch of local kids.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely be doing some donation drives once we finish setting everything up, but it's definitely going to be a great evening.
Yeah. Plus, you'll get to drink beer from Green Room, hang out with a bunch of awesome people.
I like that part.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Free beer is always
zoning up,
free
but now
beer.
I'm back.
Scott woke up.
And plenty of hard cider.
That's right. So, we've got that coming up. We're also planning a lot of other cool events. So just, stay tuned. Stay following us on social media. If you don't have us on social media, we're at Generation Jaguar on Facebook, and Instagram. And on Twitter, we're at Generation Jag. But if you search Generation Jaguar, we'll pop right up on Twitter for you.
And keep your eyes peeled, too. You never know when contests are going to be coming.
That's right. We might be giving away some free tickets to our Christmas party this...
That's called a teaser.
Is that what that is, Scott?
Is that what it's like for Bortles bringing in the QB coach, setting us up for failure Sunday?
Oh, man.
Just enough to wet our beak?
That's right. So before we get into what has been happening this week and what is going to be happening in the future, we're going to have to look at what happened last Thursday night. Scott, you want to start off?
Boo!
Yeah, let's just go ahead and get a collaborative boo!
Oh,
all right. Hopefully the players aren't listening. We don't want to hurt their feelings.
they might have a nervous breakdown.
In all honesty, though, I'm not the type of fan that likes to boo at games. I don't boo. But, like, the fact that these players are so just butthurt about it pisses me off. Like, grow up. Anyways, we'll get into more of that talk later. But what happened on Thursday that you saw?
To be honest, not much that I personally saw, because for the first time in my life, I stopped watching the game before halftime.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans
I
did.
left the watch party at the Bricks, and I drove home, and I was just listening to it, just stewing in my car,
Yeah.
and I didn't even witness the garbage time theatrics.
Yeah.
So that left no impression on me. I was just at the end of the first quarter.
That's
I was
good,
like, I
because
know where this game is going.
Garbage time is exactly what it's called garbage time for a reason. It's because it didn't matter.
It gives you hope of something
Yeah.
to cling on to. That's pointless.
Garbage Gus leading garbage time.
Yeah, well, I call, and I don't think I coined this. I think I heard it somewhere else, but Captain Garbage Time. That's Blake Bortles. 300, if you look at him if you're just a fantasy fan and you look at the Jaguars, you're like, oh, I love Blake Bortles. 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like, he's awesome. Not so fast.
It's his MO. He's absolutely horrid in the first half when things are tight. Once the game gets out of reach, they're loose. I don't know if the play callings are changing or what, but he's able to make plays because the defense is backing off, giving him things that if it was a one possession game,
the defense would be
it'd be a lot tighter.
Absolutely.
Why you gotta beat up on my boy like that?
Because
like,
he's
but
beating up on me.
I understand, but dang, man, like, give my boy a break. Like, obviously he's still here and the offensive coordinator's not, so what does that tell you?
That tells you that Gus Bradley is really good at finding a scapegoat.
Yeah, no, I agree there. I mean, the game wasn't pretty. You know, it was definitely, one of the. It was pretty much the most aggravating game I think I've watched ever.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I mean, as much as I hate to say it, Blake, I love you. I'll always support you. But I mean, it was garbage time stats. I mean, he helped out fantasy people, sure, but I mean, 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. And you still lose the game. Well, no shit. I mean, look how we were down 27-0 at halftime. I mean, the game was over when the players, before they even headed to the locker room, and then no matter what rah-rah speech you're going to give at halftime, I mean, it's not going to make you come back and score a 50-burger to try to win the game. I mean, it just doesn't happen that way.
Yeah. My biggest thing is these players have no control over their emotions on the field, and they have no control over their actions on the field. Jalen Ramsey's penalty where the receiver was clearly out of bounds by a few yards. He was well into the white, and he wasn't moving fast, and Jalen Ramsey wasn't moving fast, yet Ramsey still decided to just lay him out.
And I
don't think it's the player's attitude. I think it also comes down to coaching.
Yeah, accountability.
I think as much as the players say that they're trying to play to keep Gus, I'm not really sold on the fact that they are. I think that he has lost his touch. He's lost his rhythm, and that whole locker room is out of sync as long as he's there.
I'm just want to point out, Jalen Ramsey to me is the last person I'm going to be calling out.
Oh, absolutely.
The way he plays the game, with his attitude, with the way he doesn't want to lose,
Stop committing dumb penalties, dude.
Understandable.
Stop.
I understand, but he's not the poster boy of what's wrong with this team.
Right, no.
That's what I say.
I think the way he acts is very much what's wrong with this team. Because this defense, even when they're playing good, they give up big drives because of dumb, bonehead penalties that are totally unnecessary. And Jalen Ramsey has had his fair share of them.
I'll agree with that. But he's the kind of guy where you look at him and there's something different about him because he's not going to roll over. He's going to push for every single play. If somebody burns him on a play, he's going to come back and be like, okay, let's try this again.
Harness that positively.
Exactly.
Don't hurt your team by committing dumb penalties.
He's still a really young guy.
He is.
He's a rookie. He's going to learn.
But he's the best player on the team. And
Jalen Ramsey brings an element to this team that is much needed.
Well, we've never had a cornerback that can play like him.
Yeah.
Well,
so
true,
physical.
True. I mean, but I'm not just saying his talent too. Like his
attitude,
his confidence, and his abilities. I mean, look how he shuts Steve Smith down.
Yep.
I mean, that's a 15-year, multiple Pro Bowl caliber wide receiver who's
to me he's a Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah, he's a future Hall of Famer. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer all day. And Jalen Ramsey shut him down
and shut him up.
Yeah,
and shut him up.
Yeah, I mean,
I
he's
probably wanted to
playing
pop him
great.
in the head too.
Yeah. He's obviously playing great, but I would like to see these penalties go away, not just from him, from the whole defense. That leads me to another point. Grant brought up the fact that the players want to keep Gus around.
Of course.
I think some players do want to keep Gus around, and it's evidenced by what they've said. But I think they want to keep Gus around for the wrong reason. And what leads me to say that is Malik Jackson was on 1010XL earlier this week. He joins at the midday chalk every Tuesday at noon. And he basically said, I want to keep Gus around because I know the next coach is not going to be as good of a player's coach as Gus.
Player's coach.
You want to keep Gus around for the exact reason that we can't win games.
Yep. Exactly.
And that is just so telling to me.
With all of the talent on paper that we have, can you imagine this team if Mike Ditka from the 1985 Bears was our head coach?
They were...
I mean, seriously, can you?
In a word, no.
That
would be incredible.
This coaching... this positivity...
Here's a better one. Jimmy Johnson when he coached in Dallas.
Perfect example. He's not known as a player's coach, but he doesn't accept anything less than perfection, than what he expects.
I think Jimmy was a player's coach, though. If you talk to a lot of his players that
was he a player's coach when he called out Emmitt Smith?
But right, that's my point. He would call your ass out when you needed to be called out.
And that's the definition of accountability.
Exactly.
Not this Gus Bradley.
That's the difference between him and Gus right there. He knows when it's time to call a player out.
Yeah. So all of this leads to the question, why hasn't Gus been fired? Because he's able to find a scapegoat, and we'll get into the latest scapegoat, the latest victim of Gus Bradley's terrible coaching, which is Greg Olsen, who I'm not making any excuses for Olsen. The offense wasn't getting it done, but it's clear that Olsen's not the only problem. And I'll steal a quote from a coworker of mine, CJ Dolberger. Shout out to you, CJ. When you rearrange chairs on a sinking ship, it does not stop the ship from sinking. Ever.
I told you in the first place that the problem with the whole situation is that the brain trust left it up to Gus to fix the problem in the first place instead of fixing Gus. I mean, that's the whole issue. You talk to anybody who knows what went on and what those conversations were like. Was Gus made the decision to let Olsen go, and he let Shad Khan, the owner, and David Caldwell, the general manager, know what his decision was. And the players didn't know in advance. I mean, in all fairness, they found out the same time that all of us found out when it broke on Twitter, when it broke through the news. But the problem, I always said, it goes back to Gus being the one left to fix things. Yeah, that's where it all begins for me.
And when you have a set mindset where you're going into something saying, we have the right idea, we have the right plan in place to do what's going to work, you're going to keep doing that because it's supposed to be the right thing.
Football games.
Exactly. If the captain of the ship that you're talking about doesn't realize he's driving straight into a hurricane, he's going to keep going no matter what.
Yeah.
It's a real
Because he
life
thinks it's the right
Titanic.
thing to do.
It's a real life Titanic. They can't see the 90% of the iceberg that's underwater.
Yeah. It is frustrating. It really is. And
But you
Gus
know what?
is-
There's a positive to it, though. If you think about it, there's a positive.
a high
Less than-
draft pick in 2017.
There's always a
No,
positive.
there's not even that. The positive is that there's less than 60 days until Black Monday. Less than 60 days until Black Monday.
Just the
And
fact
explain
that
what is Black Monday.
Black Monday is the day after the NFL season when pretty much you can expect about a quarter to a third of the league to make major changes and resulting in head coaching losses. And then you've got, a handful of teams all vying for the hottest free agent coach on the market. But that's the day that represents a sign of change and some new heartbeats for a dying team.
Yeah. Well, we've had some change this week with the team. It's not the change we need. I think everyone realizes that. But
it's a Band-Aid.
it is a Band-Aid. I will say, I do think I like Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if he's able... Greg Olson seemed to me like
Like,
he wasn't willing to change. Like, he's known as the guy that's going to change to what's best for the cards he's given, as far as with the quarterbacks being able to put them in a position to win. But like the previous jobs he's been employed at, things got stale. Play fell really quickly. Play fell off, and it just went downhill from there.
Yeah, no,
So-
I can agree with that.
It's something where not even an outside perspective, but a different way of thinking that's not so dead set and dug in to where if we keep doing this, eventually it's going to work.
yeah.
Right.
So, Olsen, great first year with Bortles in terms of getting him to throw 35 touchdowns. Like, pretty much,
Well,
he beat the Jaguars passing touchdown record last year by
Almost
over
doubled it.
50%. Yeah, like, it was an awesome year. Clearly, like Scott said, it got stale really quickly, and I know that Bradley will deny it, but there was clearly a rift between Olsen and Bortles.
Yeah,
It was
look,
obvious on the sideline.
100%.
It was whenever I'm stewing after a Jaguars loss and I'm watching another team play football, the quarterbacks going, looking over paperwork, talking to their coaches. Hey, what happened here? What are we gonna do? They're showing me this look. How we're gonna counteract that? Blake was just going off, sitting there, just tossing the football around, and I don't think I saw him talking to his offensive
No, he
coordinator,
never
the guy
talked
that
to him.
calls his plays that's supposed to put themselves in a position to win. I cannot remember the last time I saw them talking after a series.
Well, and that's because it didn't happen. I think, you like Nathaniel Hackett. I like Nathaniel Hackett. He's got a couple years of experience as an offensive coordinator under his belt. And I think that's evidenced by, this week Bortles decided to go ahead once Olsen was let go and bring in his own quarterback coach, his own guru.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that he probably wanted to do weeks ago. Will we ever know if or not? I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, Hackett and him are on the same page. They're thinking about, okay, what can we do to turn shit around and right the ship? And I don't think if Olsen was here that he would be bringing in his own quarterback guru this week, because I don't think him and Olsen could communicate or get along or whatever you want to call it that needed to happen. And I just think, with Hackett being a little bit younger, there's more of a degree of comfort there between the two.
Yeah, I do think that Blake is clearly more comfortable with Hackett. But I do say I like Hackett. I'm happy with him so far. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen with him,
Right.
but I like his attitude. I like his energetic vibe that he gives off, and he just
balance.
seems really excited about the opportunity to change little things within the offense that might have big results as the change happens. But the only thing I will say that worries me about Hackett and kind of makes me scratch my head. So we fire Greg Olsen and we replace him with the quarterback coach that's been coaching Blake Bortles during this terrible season. Like, Can Nathaniel Hackett not help out with the mechanics?
Well, but I mean, I take that with a grain of salt, and the reason I say that is because Hackett, being the QB coach, he doesn't have the final say in things that happen. You don't know what goes on between the offensive meetings, or between him and Olsen and the team. So he may have wanted to implement some new ideas or some different wrinkles in the game plan to better help Bortles and utilize what he's good at. And with Olsen being the one to call the shots and have the final say, you don't know. So that's why I think.
But I don't even mean like play calling and ideas like that. I just mean straight up, your quarterback coach is supposed to be working with your quarterback on everything that has to do with quarterbacking, which includes mechanics.
Right.
And his mechanics regressed to a level so poor this year under his coaching.
But what if we had been a fly on the wall and we heard Hackett talk about some different things that could be done within the offensive strategy and play calling
I get
to
that
better
part.
suit his mechanics?
I get that part, but the mechanics are just bad. Like
they're bad. They're bad.
Like when your windup is looking like Byron Leftwich and Tim Tebow, you've got an issue.
Not to mention
Okay, whoa. You said Tim Tebow. Don't cross that line. You already bashed two of my favorite quarterbacks.
I'm not saying that Bortles is playing like Tim Tebow. I'm saying his
His
windup looks like Tim Tebow's right now. It does.
Is there any coincidence how quickly Bortles brought in his own coach once Olsen had left the building?
I think not. I do not think that's a coincidence. I'm with you. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think you're absolutely right about the comfortability now. And the comfortability factor is huge for Bortles, in my opinion. And he's a very resilient guy. I still think he can bounce back from this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It might take time. I don't feel like fixing something to where it looks like he's back to his rookie season. I don't think that's just a quick fix.
Yeah.
It's not something where I think, oh, he's done. He's not the quarterback of the future.
Yeah.
It's something where it might take an off season. It might take something where he's got to try and find some way to get it straight.
And I think that's why Bortles felt that this was the right time, now that he's got someone who's calling the shots that he's comfortable with and on the same page with, where he felt it was the right time to bring in his own coach, and he did that this week. He made the move. He announced that he was going to bring in Adam Dedeaux, who is a Tom House guy. You know, Tom House is notorious for his work with Tom Brady and some of the other greats at the quarterback position, and so that's what he did. He came into town from Southern California, Adam did, and worked with Bortles Monday and Tuesday, you know, talking about the wind-up and just the different parts of his wind-up and his mechanics and all, and that's what they spent pretty much Monday, Tuesday, you know, all just working on the field. Adam was out there, Hackett was out there, those three working together. But I think the important thing for us as fans to look at is that this was something spearheaded by Bortles. Yeah. I don't think he's given up on the season. I don't think that he's
I don't think he's the type of guy that's ever going to give up.
No. Bortles is no. This is something that he wanted. It was his doing. He's hiring the guy. He's bringing him in. He wants change. He wants to see things happen. And so I think that's, you know, he spent time with Tom House over the offseason, and Dedeaux being a Tom House guy, I mean, I think it was a good call. And so I hope, you know, the time that they spent together was well spent, and we'll see Sunday. We'll see how it plays out.
I'm sure it will, and I think Bortles would admit this. I think that he did not spend enough time on his mechanics this offseason. I read an article about it. I think it's obvious he didn't spend enough time this offseason on his mechanics as in years past, and he realized it pretty early on in the preseason, and I think he thought there was nothing that they could do about it during the season. He even admitted that. The problems that are happening right now aren't things we can fix mid-season. But I think that statement came from Greg Olsen being the offensive coordinator. Right. And now that there's a new offensive coordinator that is open with Bortles and they can have a good relationship, good working relationship, they can do different things. They can work on different things.
Absolutely.
And they can really try to fix it. And I don't think that was going to happen under Olsen.
Here's the thing. If this offense returns to its prime form like it was firing on all cylinders last year, is there a chance that we fire Gus and make Hackett the head coach?
Gosh, that would be an almost unprecedented move. But Tampa did do that.
I'm thinking more so than that. Hackett was the offensive coordinator where?
Buffalo.
Who was the head coach?
Doug Marrone.
That's
Ding,
the line
ding,
of thinking
ding,
that I'm
ding,
more
ding.
going down.
So you
No,
think?
I mean, I
But-
agree.
but-
So wait a second. I just gotta get this straight. So Doug Marrone, head coach at Syracuse, brings in Hackett to be the offensive coordinator at Syracuse. Then Doug Marrone goes to Buffalo, brings Hackett with him. Then goes to Jacksonville, brings Hackett with him. So Hackett's been his disciple this whole time. And then Hackett surpasses the mentor in terms of job status, which he has. He's now the offensive coordinator. And while Marrone is the assistant head coach, he's the offensive line coach.
Yeah.
Hackett's the OC.
Right. He's calling the
And
shots.
so now you think they do great the rest of the season, hypothetically, if they do great the rest of the season. Then Marrone takes back his master role, and
I'm just thinking
Hackett becomes the apprentice again.
Either way, whether it's Hackett and Marrone or Marrone and Hackett, it should have Jaguars fans licking their chops like they're in front of a hot plate of Bono's barbecue. I mean, come on. Marrone,
Granted,
Hackett,
anyone not named Gus Bradley should do that.
Marrone and Hackett for president. Let's go. Make Duval great again.
I'm more saying outside.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Outside the organization, he's been proven to where Nathaniel Hackett has been exactly the protege of Doug Marrone. Doug Marrone's a guy who, by all accounts, around the league could potentially have some eyes looking at him
as a head coach
coming up again.
Well, but I mean, it's like bacon and eggs, Batman and Robin, you know.
Now, granted, going along with your scenario, Nathaniel Hackett turns the offense around. We start winning some games.
Right.
Winning games does not correlate to me Gus Bradley getting fired.
That's another fair point. So let's say the Jaguars are 2-5 right now.
Yep.
Let's say they finish
11-5.
All right.
Be
I'll see you later.
positive,
See you
y'all.
later, Grant.
Be positive, y'all.
Grant's gonna finish the rest of the podcast without us. Anyways, let's say they finish optimistically 8-8 or 7-9. Does that get Gus Bradley to stay in Jacksonville for another year? If not, I would rather. I mean, if that does happen, I would rather us be terrible the rest of this year.
My reasoning
really
with that is it might save him from being fired midseason, which he might not even be in general.
Now,
but
okay,
but with him not being fired, let's say in the scenario, Nathaniel Hackett turns the offense around. With him making it through the season, he's presumably going to get the chop. He's going to get the axe. Is Nathaniel Hackett the guy that you're looking for next year as far as building a whole new system?
Do I go ahead and say that's my number one guy? I can't say that right now. I have no idea.
Exactly.
Right now, my number one guy for next year is without question Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, I think we're.
But wait. Scrap any outside prospects. Think about this. Thinking into the crystal ball.
I think we need to only look at outside.
Thinking of the crystal ball. If Hackett can turn this offensive around, right, and Doug Marrone takes over as head coach and keeps Hackett as his OC, do they put Gus back to where he's best?
No, Gus is gone.
Bradley would not
if
have a job here, no matter
coaches don't get demoted. A head coach does not get demoted. That's not the way the league works.
Saying.
It won't happen.
It won't happen for his ego or for the fans burning down the stadium.
It's just plain and simple. It won't happen.
For Malik Jackson's purpose.
It's not going to happen.
He's getting paid $90 million. He'll play for whoever the hell we tell him to play.
You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know he is.
I wouldn't.
Now, I hate suggesting that I might prefer us lose instead of win.
Absolutely.
But let's say the offense does flip the switch a little bit with Hackett, and it's kind of a slow development throughout the rest of the year, and the Jaguars still don't win very many games, but the offense is clearly better and the defense is clearly better, but they just can't win the games. That could be an ideal situation, because then you see that Bortles still does have what it takes, and the Robinson and Hearns and all the guys on offense, all the good offensive weapons. It'll give you some confidence going into next year, but they still didn't win the game, so Gus can go.
Yeah. I just don't. I think there's a lot of fans out there that I think that we would just lose them if that happened because
I think we already have.
I think we would lose even. I understand that, but I think we would lose even more if that were to happen. And so yes, losing to make sure that Gus Bradley doesn't come back is tempting, but I don't think that's the right answer either.
Yeah.
To me,
I mean, you heard it from Ian Rappaport. I mean, he's a pretty well-known guy. He said that the Jags aren't typically a team to make a change in the middle of the season, and that's why even letting Olsen go was surprising. And so I think it's just a matter of waiting for the offseason to be here before Connor or Caldwell is going to pull the trigger.
Yeah, I agree. If Gus Bradley isn't fired by now, when will
it's not going to happen during the season.
And to be honest, in my opinion, you gotta purge this mentality that they've had ingrained in them.
They've been coddled since day one.
The coaching, if you're on the coaching staff, there's got to be some position coach somewhere that doesn't agree with the way Gus Bradley's doing things. And to me, that hasn't shown up.
I just think they're too afraid to speak out, if you ask me.
I agree.
Then maybe they're not suited to be a part of something that's bigger than not standing up to someone who is doing a terrible job.
Well, time will tell.
I just think you just start over, get somebody in here that you think has the right mindset and can bring people along that are right there with them.
Well, I think everyone can agree that Bradley's not the answer now.
Exactly. Right. That's where we're getting at.
Grant, you just brought up Malik Jackson. We'd like to go ahead and hop backwards. I know we usually do our WTF moment of the week earlier, but
ranted a little bit.
We got on a long rant there, and that's all right. These things happen when your team's terrible. So, Grant, what is your WTF moment of the week? I know it has something to do with Malik Jackson.
Yeah, Malik, listen, man, you came here on a 6-year, $90 million deal.
92, if I'm
92,
correct.
whatever, 90 million, 90 million flipping dollars, Malik.
You're making me feel bad now.
Like you know how many Publixes you can open or how many Winn-Dixies you can. I mean, just $90 million is a lot of dough, bro. So for you to go and post on Instagram and your Instagram stories how pissed you are that the NFL's taken $30,000 from you, which isn't even 1% of your overall salary. I mean, you post not just one, not just two, not just three, but 4 different clips on Instagram.
On his story?
His Instagram story about being upset by the league finding him not once but twice. The first being a $24,000 fine, which we were all aware of from his ejection in the game a couple weeks ago at home against the Raiders, and then the other fine being between $6,000 and $7,000 for wearing an article of clothing underneath his pads that was not NFL approved. I mean, dude, you're an NFL player. You guys, before the season even kicks off, are made aware of what you can and cannot wear. That
only
includes,
there was a book of
wait, like
things that you can
like a rule book. I mean, come on, you're not a rookie. You're not an undrafted free agent. You're a Pro Bowl caliber player who's been around. You know what you're doing, I would hope. And you guys know what the rules are. You know what you can wear. You know what you can't wear. You know what jewelry can't be worn and what can be worn and what you can get away with. So the fact that you're crumpling up papers, you're talking about how you're pissed, you're talking about how they're taking $30,000
and dropping F-bombs if I'm correct.
Dropping the F-bomb, dropping a bunch of expletives, like WTF, bro? Get it together. Go hit somebody else. Take that anger out and go hit Nick Foles for all I care.
Yeah, be like us. When you want to say the F word, say WTF. And you're good to go. Everybody says that. Little kids say that these days. It's not a big deal. So, one thing you just said, I do take a little bit of a different stance than you. You said Malik Jackson is a Pro Bowl caliber player. I don't know if I think that
he hasn't lived. I'll backstep. He hasn't lived up to that in Jacksonville. But if you look at his play in Denver,
surrounded by 3 Pro Bowlers.
Doesn't matter. The Jags still
2 Hall of Famers and perhaps one of the best pass rushers in NFL history in Von Miller, and certainly another top 10, top 20 pass rusher in NFL history in DeMarcus Ware.
All right. Well, my point is Caldwell wouldn't have paid him the money if he didn't think that's what he was worth.
Well, I don't know how much I trust Dave Caldwell.
He's coming into question.
He
too.
needs to be taking some heat, and we
potentially
haven't
part of the
touched on
problem.
that.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Dave Caldwell has drafted Luke Jokel in the first round.
Okay.
I think we can all say, as a number 2 overall pick, that is a
Not
bust.
so good.
Okay.
All right.
He's drafted Blake Bortles in the first round. We don't know about that yet, but he's certainly not looking as good as
It's
several
not
other
leaning
players
that
that
way.
were available at the time in Teddy Bridgewater and
What's
Derek
Teddy
Carr.
Bridgewater doing?
He got injured. You can't blame that on him. Come on, man. Don't even be like that. You can't be like
I'm
that.
just saying.
You can't be like that. So, Caldwell does not have a perfect record as our general manager, and case in point is the 2015 free agency class. None of them are making an impact right now.
Excuse me.
Okay, whoa,
Mr.
whoa.
Nortman would like to disagree with you.
2016
Norton
is
is a-
Norman.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you
2015
said 16.
2015 is Jared Audrick.
Yeah.
2015
let's-
is Devon House.
Yeah. Mr.
2015
Benchman.
is Dan Scuda.
Dave Caldwell gave us the Allen brothers.
I'm not
Dave
saying that he's
Caldwell.
not a decent GM,
Dave
but
Caldwell gave us Telvin Smith.
Mid to
My
late round.
point
picks
Dave
is
Caldwell gave us Jalen Ramsey.
He's not-
Dave Caldwell
You're right.
gave us Jalen Ramsey, the Allen brothers, Telvin Smith, Brad Nortman.
he
Find me a
also gave
GM
us
who
Luke
wouldn't take
Jokel.
Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
Find you a
Okay.
GM who would take Allen Robinson.
Grant. Look,
Yo.
Jalen Ramsey fell into his lap at 5. He had to take Ramsey.
Mhm.
That was lucky. That was no skill. That was no skill. Okay? I won't give him credit for that because anybody would have done that. I would have done that. You would have done that. Scott would have done that.
Cowboys
My
should have
mom
done
would
that.
have done that. My little sister would have done that. Anybody would have done that. So, point being, Caldwell has made some very good decisions, but he's not without error. And he cannot be called infallible. Correct?
He's not as bad as you guys make it seem.
I'm not saying he's bad, but I'm saying he is not without error. Can we agree on that?
We can agree to disagree.
All right, we'll agree to disagree. Luke Jokel's a superstar.
I never said Luke was a superstar. I will say that Luke, having been moved to guard, has performed much better than he was doing at
playing
left
better.
tackle.
You're right,
Yeah,
but
he was.
I'll also say I think Omame is not doing any worse than Jokel was.
Dave
Yeah.
Caldwell also gave us Brandon Linder, who's one of the top 10 guards in the
Linder's
NFL.
awesome.
He has been performing very well in the mid to late rounds.
There's no question
of
that
the
Caldwell's
draft,
done
and
some very good
he
things.
nailed Allen Hurns.
But he's also done some not so great things. Anyways, we don't have to rant about Dave Caldwell all day. But that $92 million to Malik ain't looking great right now. I'll say Malik's playing like pretty good,
No, he's not one of the guys you're looking at as to what is the problem
except
with
for the
this
penalties.
team on the field.
Except for the penalties.
Well, yeah, the
dumb
penalties,
penalties aside. Skill wise, he's a guy he's doing his job.
Yeah.
He's not someone who's blowing the stat sheet away.
Yeah,
He never
I mean,
will be.
Exactly.
No.
Based on
No.
what he does. But
But the other thing, too.
there's guys that could be that do play the
Sinderic,
same
oh,
position
yeah.
as him.
Got quite a few sacks at his position.
Yeah, in 2014, Sinderic had 8.5 sacks.
Yeah.
There's guys that do
you.
play the same position that can
Perform that
produce
well.
incredibly well in terms of sack numbers, but so far Malik's not one of them. And he hasn't been his whole career. He's
No.
been good at getting pressures,
Yeah.
but he's not the sack
Which
guy.
sometimes, if you can affect the quarterback,
can be
it's almost
just as
good
important.
as
Yeah.
a sack. So-
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I mean look at Roy Miller. He's one of the most undervalued. I mean I know he's injured, but he's one of the most, if not the most undervalued guy on our team.
Yeah.
And so you look at those big guys up front and what they do and the value that they provide to our team. It's not always going to show up in the stat sheet, but it'll show up like in the leadership that we get from a Roy Miller and what we could get from Malik Jackson. I think Malik is still finding his fit, so to speak. And I also think, going back to one of our earlier points real quick, having guys like Jalen Ramsey and having guys like Telvin Smith and guys who aren't, and Malik Jackson, who are used to winning and don't like losing, I don't know if Gus has had a locker room of those kinds of guys to handle.
Yeah.
It seems like the guys like Paz are just rolling right along with him. We got to get back to doing what we're doing. Now, his on-field play has been playing well, but his mentality to what he's saying to the media is just
Same
like Gus
story.
Jr.
Same old story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So we'd be remiss if we didn't bring up this civil war that's going on between ownership and the fans. We touched on the players versus the fans last week. Yeah. There was another incident this week where Malik Jackson called out the fans, said there were more fans in the pools than there were cheering. I listened to the whole interview, and it did not sound good, and it doesn't sound like he has any idea what he's talking about. No. Because the fans pack out the stadium. We're there. We see it.
Hey, Jaguars, if you're looking for a PR guy, because I see that position is pretty vacant right now, I am available. I will tell all the players just to shut the hell up. I can do that. So just, give me a call.
Absolutely. So now there's an entirely new thing that's going on, and that is the fans on Twitter versus Tony Khan. And Tony Khan really did nothing to provoke this except for the fact that
he's
a Suns owner.
He's somewhere you can point your anger at.
Yeah, he's a scapegoat for the ownership. I mean, people think, oh, Tony Khan, yes, he is the owner's son. Yes, one day he very well could be the one running this team, owning this team.
And he already has a heavy influence.
Exactly. He runs the team's analytics department, but people should take that with a grain of salt, because although he can use his metrics and his data to make suggestions, he doesn't have the final say. Yeah, he can only he's another person at the round table who can provide input, but he has a lot less say than a lot of people think.
And I've been waiting all week for this topic right here.
And can we just say before you get into what you're gonna say, Jaguars fans on Twitter went as far as to call him the F word that is associated with
exactly what I was about to get.
And then they just kept calling him nerd. Like
when it's one thing to boo someone at the stadium when they're doing an awful job. It's understandable. It's not part of being a fan, but something that they are certainly entitled to if they're watching the product that we've been watching. But for someone to attack another human being on social media.
Another human being that busts his ass.
Someone who's using slurs, insensitive, just terrible things to say is cowardly. It's someone who thinks highly of themselves and feels like they're untouchable on the internet.
Which many Jaguars fans do on Twitter.
Especially because they hide behind their AV and we don't know who they really are.
You can say a lot of things when you're not looking someone in the face.
Exactly.
That makes you look like a big, strong man that you wouldn't say to them in person. Yeah. And I feel like it is absolutely to attack somebody on social media, whether it's players, whether it's personnel, whether it's ownership, is cowardly and just absolutely unnecessary.
And it makes me as a fan, and you, Grant, and you, Scott, it makes us look bad.
Exactly.
Oh, absolutely.
Because people see the story and they're like, oh, Jaguars fans are being assholes to the owner's son who runs the analytics and is very involved with the team. I don't want to be grouped in with that. I would never be rude to Tony Khan. He's done nothing but work really hard and be very civil and friendly with everyone. And Jaguars Twitter just needs to shut the hell up if you ask.
I've been known to at the Jaguars every now and then and just, give them a little trash can every now and then. But to personally attack somebody for doing their job, albeit poorly and not up to your standards, is not something that you have the personal obligation to call them out on and to just attack them in these demeaning ways.
It's also not going to result in a direct change for those who think that that's going to solve anything. And I think for people like us, for fans like us, I mean, we take the brunt of it when we're not even the ones doing it. I mean, yes, there's Jaguars Twitter, but don't think that every Jags fan on earth is a part of Jaguars Twitter, because I can assure you we're not.
And we're all on Twitter, and we're all Jaguars, but we are not part of that crap that's going on.
No, not at all.
And the last word on this subject, it's creating a toxic relationship inside and outside the building.
And don't think that the players didn't see that.
One that pretty soon, if the things keep going down the road they're going, is going to be just
I don't want to know what it's going to be.
Irreparable.
I don't want to know what it's going to be.
Things are going in a direction where it is getting very bad very quickly. So let's just move on.
I'm Jordan DeLugo. You can find me on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo and also on Facebook and Instagram at Jordan DeLugo. We're here with our new co-host, Grant Gunderson, who's also the VP of Genjag. You can find him on Instagram at BoldCityG_. And then you can find Scott Klein on Twitter at ScottKlein1. That's KLEIN and the number 1. So, moving right along, we're going to get into around the AFC South now that we're all incredibly pissed off. So, the Colts, they just lost to the Chiefs, who we're playing this week.
They warmed them up for us.
They warmed them up.
They're 3-5. Their offense was unable to get anything going against the Chiefs last week, and it was in Indy, so that's just... it's a little scary.
They're pretty good.
Yeah, it's a little scary. So the Colts have fallen to 3-5. They travel to Green Bay this week. Green Bay's a little banged up, but in no way do I think that Green Bay is going to let Indianapolis win that football game.
No, it's like looking around the league, looking around this division, you're just remiss that we're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Just if we had
right there.
some sort of success,
something. Yeah, no, I agree.
Right there
we'd be
for us.
right in the fight.
I mean, really, we could win the division at 9-7.
Potentially. Now, let's get to the Titans, who just beat the crap out of us. They're obviously on a...
Let's not talk about the Titans.
Let's not talk about that, damn it.
They're obviously on a very hot streak right now. They're 4-4. Who would have ever thought they were 4-4 going into Week 9 of the football season? But they are, and they're in second place in the division. And, they travel to San Diego this week. That's going to be a really tough game for them. Yeah. I wouldn't pick them in such a game. But they've proven that they can hang with some good teams. So.
If they can run the ball.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, Joey Bosa, he was just selected as
Bosa's killing it.
Right? I mean, Bosa was selected as the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Month for the month of October. I mean, he is playing up to the potential that everybody thought he would be.
Without a doubt. And then we get to the Texans, who, while they're struggling offensively for the most part, their defense is still getting it done. Without J.J. Watt.
Yeah, they're doing just enough.
They're 5-3. They're playing some strong D, and they have a bye week to get rested up. So the Jaguars, while the Texans are 5-3, if the Jags can win this week, they're 3-5, and they're still right in the mix. They really are.
They're a team that will never let you give up hope.
Yeah,
even when you
mostly because of their terrible division, but It is what it is. So that's around the AFC South. We don't have a lot of time left. We got to get into our Chiefs preview.
Yeah.
So the Chiefs are a really, really talented football team. They're 5-2, and we're playing them at Arrowhead. They have one of the best home field advantages in the NFL.
It's
historically and still to this day. They have awesome fans. They have awesome tailgating. Their barbecue is world known. Kansas City. What is your main point this week with the Chiefs?
Yet again, an injured team that's coming in here, and I'm not comfortable with our matchup.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to be a fool if you were comfortable.
They're missing their starting quarterback, their top 2 running backs, potentially their number 1 wide receiver.
Right, so not to get ahead of ourselves, Alex Smith is their number 1 quarterback who's out with a head injury that's not a concussion.
He's not a concussion, but he's in the protocol and not ready to play yet for some reason.
And then you get to Spencer Ware, who's their backup running back, who's really been their starting running back all year.
He'll
probably be out.
Has been out.
Right.
Yeah, Jamal Charles is done.
Charles is out for probably the rest of the season.
Yep.
But yeah, Ware suffered a concussion, and he's in concussion protocol. Very small chance of him playing. And then Jeremy Maclin was added to the injury report today. He's their number 1 wide receiver.
Yep.
He's a guy that, if he doesn't play, they are really lacking weapons besides Travis Kelce.
Not to mention, it also takes away a degree of comfortability for Nick Foles.
Who played with Jeremy Maclin in Philly as well.
I mean, you take him away, I think it adds another
But he played pretty well against... Well, our defense is a little bit better than Indy. But he came in, he played well. He was able to get the job done. They won the game.
And to shift on the other side of the ball, you look at the Chiefs' defense. Not Marcus Peters is a beast, but D Ford.
Yeah, it's brutal.
D Ford is
everybody knew Marcus Peters coming into this season.
D Ford. I mean, people look at Dontari Poe, but D Ford. When you look at the sack leaders this year in the NFL, D Ford has 7 sacks through 7 games. But I think more importantly is what we call non-coverage sacks. And D Ford is right up there with guys like Vic Beasley, Brian Arakpo, Von Miller, and Cliff Averill as leading in non-coverage sacks.
And which that just a quick explanation of what that is.
Yeah, so it's a sack where you look at the time that the quarterback holds on to the ball. The longer he holds on to the ball, the longer you can put that on the defensive secondary. A non-coverage sack is someone truly just beating the crap out of an offensive lineman, hitting that quarterback in less than 3 seconds. D Ford has 65% of his sacks are a non-coverage sack.
So that means he's just whipping offensive tackles.
He is beating the piss out of offensive
and he's a guy that it took a little while for him to catch on, but this year he looks like the guy that they wanted when they drafted him.
Yeah,
he definitely was pretty maligned coming out. He's an undersized kind of guy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Was a very skilled player at Auburn, but translating to the NFL,
you didn't know if the power would be there.
Exactly.
And to his credit, I mean, him playing at Auburn, me being a Bama guy, I watched D Ford. We had to watch D Ford tear us up. And even then, I still had my doubts just about his size transferring over to an NFL defense. But, I mean, I give credit where credit is due, and he definitely deserves quite a bit.
Yeah, he really does. Good for the Chiefs on that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'd be remiss if we didn't quickly mention the Chiefs and the Jaguars were the two worst teams in the NFL in 2012. They had the number 1 and 2 picks. I know the Chiefs had injuries that year, but we'd be remiss if we didn't say that.
Pretty different path.
Since the 2013 draft, when we were second and they were first, they have gone completely skyrocketed. They've been awesome, and we have just not gotten any better. So
a good coach
typical Jags. But the Chiefs' pass defense, my goodness, they're not amazing in terms of yards per game given up on through the air. They're giving up middle of the road, a little bit above average, 244 yards a game through the air, but they lead the league in interceptions with 11. You're playing.
Does Marcus Peters have all of them? Not to mention even Eric Berry.
Yeah. I mean, they're so talented.
Quick credit to Eric Berry, man. Like all you're doing, all you're fighting through, good for you.
Yeah. Coming back from cancer. And
Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Not sure exactly how your career path is going to go. It's a great feel good story. He's coming back. He's playing well.
So is there any chance that Bortles throws 1 interception or less in this game?
It's as close to 0 as I can possibly fathom.
Yeah,
with the players that they have on defense, with the pressure that they can create,
and the home field advantage,
with his.
I'm gonna say give him 1, but that's it. I hope for our sake
hopefully
that he doesn't.
Yeah, if Bortles throws 1 pick in this game, I'll be insanely happy.
Yeah,
but his pass record, his willingness to take chances and not so great throws now really is a bad combination.
Yeah, the Jaguars have had pretty much. Statistically, they're not the worst running team in the NFL. They're 30th, but they've got to be the worst rushing team in the NFL right now. They're terrible. Mm-hmm. However, the new offensive coordinator is supposed to implement some changes in the run game and formations and such. And at both his stops before as offensive coordinator, he did really well running the ball in Buffalo and Syracuse. So there's got to be some optimism there. And the Chiefs' defense, while their yards per game isn't staggering, their yards per carry, they're giving up 4.5 yards a carry on the ground. The Jaguars have to take advantage of that if they expect to win this game.
If you can average anywhere near 4.5, stick with it, and somehow you can keep their offense off the field. You can maintain drives, which for getting a first down or getting multiple first downs on a drive is something we haven't done for a vast majority of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
plain and simple, we got to move the ball in the first half. We haven't been able to do it this whole year.
It's killing it.
It's gonna be with all the different headlines that are going into this specific game, all the different storylines and things that could happen. What if that? What if this? What if that? I mean, it's gonna be a good game, for what it is. It's gonna be like, we'll see. I mean, there's a lot riding on this game. This game can give
Jags it's an fans, interesting game.
Right. It's an interesting game. It can give us a lot of answers. I have my friend Jamie, she's a Chiefs fan. we've been going back and forth about it all week long. I mean, it should be a good one.
Yeah, it really should. So, again, the Jaguars are facing a team that has so many injuries. And this year so far, they really haven't been able to take advantage of it. Yeah, they beat Chicago, who was really injured, but it took a 17-point fourth quarter to do it.
And that's a team that potentially, if the Browns weren't around, they might have the first overall pick.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you think that having...
Which, by the way, the Browns having the overall pick is scary, considering they just got Jamie Collins, by the way.
Yeah, I like Jamie Collins, but
On a
the
contract
Patriots
year.
know what they're doing.
Will he sign there?
I think he will, because I think they'll throw a boatload of money at him.
Yeah.
I don't think they would have done the trade without having some idea that he'd be willing to re-sign if they throw a boatload of money at him. But moving on from the evil Patriots.
Evil Patriots.
So evil. But so do you think that them being without Jamal Charles and without Spencer Ware, do you think that we'll be able to take advantage of Sharkhandrick West?
To me, it's never really the running game I'm worried about.
It's always a passing game.
Yeah. This past week against Tennessee was really the first game that I feel like we've been exposed and been exploited in the running game. So it's something where they're on their third quarterback or they're on their third running back. Okay, I don't think Jamal Charles is a playmaker.
Yeah.
Right.
If he's in the game, I'm worried.
Spencer Ware really is.
Spencer
too,
Ware's
like-
playing well.
I'm less worried if Jeremy Maclin sits out, but I mean even then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be great for the Jags if
what
Maclin
running
can
back
play.
outside of Jamal Charles is in the game is inconsequential.
It's irrelevant.
Because we've shut down better.
It's irrelevant.
We've shut down better running backs. It's the quarterback and
Which I'll
Tight
give it
end.
to
Yeah,
him.
so
Foles
speaking of the quarterback.
he's a very smart quarterback. He torched us in the past. I think a lot is going to ride on whether or not Maclin plays because even though they're not in Philly, Maclin gives Foles a degree of comfortability.
and you just got to have weapons.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think you take Maclin away, that changes things a bit.
You have to worry
How
about
do you guys
Kelsey.
feel about Foles, though? Like, forget the weapons, just him as a quarterback. What do you think? Like, he couldn't make it in St. Louis? Like, was that Jeff Fisher just being an asshole?
I don't
Yeah.
think any
Fisher?
quarterback is really going to succeed in Jeff Fisher.
No,
Jeff Fisher.
I mean, for what it's worth, Foles, he doesn't make that many mistakes.
But there's a reason why Philly got rid of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's-
And that reason is Chip Kelly.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I say that in jest, but it does have a serious tone behind it. Like,
To me, he's
Kelly's a mad scientist.
He's
Yeah.
kind of Brian Hoyer-esque, who brings up bad memories. I know because
Yeah.
he's torched us, but he's just a guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he's not horrible.
I view him as a little bit more than just a guy. I think he's better than Brian Hoyer.
Mhm.
He's much less experienced than Brian Hoyer.
Mhm.
But I honestly think he's a guy that, given a second chance to be a starter in the league,
Could right the ship.
could do it. I don't think he's obviously going to take Alex Smith's spot.
Yeah.
But I think he's more than capable of having an effective game against our defense. I really do.
Yeah.
I'm worried about it. I think a lot of people are like, oh, we got Nick Foles. He sucked in St. Louis. He got ran out of Philly. We're good to go. I'm not on the same page with that.
Do I dare ask any kind of predictions?
Yeah, we got to get into our predictions real quick before the end of the show.
Yeah. I'm not the right person to ask for this. Damn it. I'm gonna say
Everyone's got their opinion.
there's
Go.
so many storylines. There's so many interesting things riding on this. There's a lot of potential injuries and how that could make things play out. I'm gonna say 27-24 Jags.
Wow.
Wow. Okay.
Scotty?
I'm not so Mr. Rainbows and Sunshine.
I shed light on facts.
No. This is one of the best teams in the AFC.
Yeah.
Regardless, it's never really if they're missing a few offensive players, and that hasn't really been our issue. I'm not very optimistic.
I'm not either.
I mean, if 24 to 10 Chiefs.
All right.
It's gonna be rough against this defense to me.
You know, I do see the injuries, and that does give me some hope. Like,
Yeah.
I really think them being without their two best running backs, perhaps their number one receiver, and definitely with their starting quarterback, it could really help the Jaguars out. I'm going to be optimistic in my prediction, even though I'm not optimistic in real life. I'm going to go 30-24 Jags. And that's going to wrap it up for our show
I hope
today.
I'm wrong. I want you guys to be right.
If you slit my veins, it's going to bleed teal.
So you can follow Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag on Twitter, at Generation Jaguar on Facebook and Instagram. You can go see us at genjag.com, our website. For Grant Gunderson and Scott Klein, I'm Jordan DeLugo. This is the Gen Jag Podcast. See you later.
See you.